Life here, 70% of the world is salt water, and all that water cannot be used to drink by humans. Only 3% is fresh water, and 2% of that fresh water is trapped in the ice. So that's not for use either. So that means out of all the water on the planet, only 1% is used for human drinking. So where does it all go? Like as you saw in that video, there's something called virtual water. So if like one apple they could tell you it took like 5 liters to grow that one apple, or 100 gallons to give you a hamburger patty. So that's all water that you don't really see. That's why they call it virtual water. And load of laundry, 40 gallons. One toilet flushes 3 gallons. 10-minute showers, about 50 gallons. And with a growing population of 7 billion right now, and expected to be 9 billion in 2015, you can see how this is why I'm bringing up this topic, and I think it's very important to educate you all guys about it. So who does it affect? It affects everyone and people of the future generations, as we will continue to be strained. 2.6 billion people have no access to sanitation or clean water and live on less than $1 a day, and then later on I'll tell you how economics is closely tied to water consumption. So the water scarcity map, you can see like Africa, Middle East, and India. These are predominantly third world countries. So economics is closely linked to the water infrastructure. And although I can see America is pretty good for the most part, in the West here, they all like desert Nevada. Like cities such as Las Vegas would not exist if they didn't have the infrastructure to deliver the water to them. So the world is thirsty because it's hungry. And now I'll tell you guys about how water is linked to agriculture. 70% of all our water use is devoted to agriculture, just to feed the world. So as you see, as time goes on, the population gets bigger. We will need more and more water devoted just to feed the population. This is the problem we will face, feeding more and more people with less and less water. So environmental factors play a big deal in the problem because the climate is changing, like global warming, and we're having a flood drought pattern, such as in this cartoon, they say the kiwi and his cover, like in New Zealand and in Australia, they had a flood drought pattern. And first here, when it's raining, when there's no rain, he's praying, please God, let's send us rain. And when there's too much rain, it's also a problem. So we can't rely on the climate as much. So we have to do more with what we have. And the flood drought system is what creates deserts, and that's not good for the water system. And it's inconsistent, so we can't rely on it as much. So this is the normal water cycle. This is what's supposed to happen. But with cities like LA and like Las Vegas, like I told you, these places would not exist if we didn't have this infrastructure to bring it to these places. So, for example, according to an article by ASCE, exacerbated by global warming, the evaporation of fresh water into the atmosphere is progressing at faster rates, and water is cycling back down to the earth where it's not necessarily needed, and a small amount of that dissipates into the atmosphere is lost forever. So this is why we need to do more with the little that we have. Rainfall is another problem because we don't have the reservoirs and the lakes to store that water, and groundwater is the water that comes down from the rain. It's not being stored. It's all going off to the ocean, and that's all water that I think we could be using, but we're not. And so that brings me to our next problem, is the aging infrastructure. So I don't know if you guys heard in Obama's inauguration, he talked about hiring engineers to build an aging infrastructure but I think that he should, on his part, don't you think if he made a speech about the water crisis, more people would know about it? Because the big deal about it is the public awareness. So how does it affect the economy? Water is needed for farming, especially like in California. You won't notice it down here in the south, but up north, they rely hugely on agriculture. Like we export 70% of the country's elements. Like I bet you didn't know that, but that's a big deal in California's economy. And less water means higher water and food prices for the consumers. That's you guys. And we need to fix old infrastructure such as Hurricane Katrina's levees. If the money was allocated towards that, the levees would not have failed and the water would not have come into the city. Also, a trend is that poor countries, like you saw on the map, they tend to have bad water systems, and that's what leads to sickness and illness and poverty. So one of the solutions, now I'll talk to you guys about the solutions and what we can do to help. So since 70% of the water that we have goes to agriculture, I think we need to spend more time fixing solutions in agriculture. And another solution we have is eco-friendly materials such as energy efficient, like toilets and shower heads, and collecting rain barrels to use in your house. And these are just simple fixes that can really help. And the number one thing is public awareness, so making simple changes, that's up to you. And advertisements, like as you guys seen the LA's droughts during the summer, they say, oh, don't water your lawn in the morning or like at night. And the government should bring it up and do incentives and talk about it. And have a little quiz. Does anyone know how much of the world's water is used for agriculture or how much is suitable for human consumption? Yeah. You got a water bottle. Congratulations. Yeah. So now you guys know, and I hope you tell your parents and your family and conserve. And the little things, just like turning off your faucet when you're brushing your teeth, it can really add up. Thank you.